All right, I'm joined now by Congresswoman Karen Bass, Democrat from California. Have you ever seen it? You're smiling. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Well, actually, I mean, we did a few times before, right? Over the debt ceiling, you know, over the budget. There were several times, but I think that this was just a real mess. And I was actually surprised, frankly, that Paul Ryan miscalculated so much because he knew the challenges of the Freedom Caucus. But I am just so glad, and I just want to take a second and give a shout out to all the people in Indivisible that went to the town hall meetings, all the resistance fighters, because this was a really important lesson to understand that your activism, your participation counts. And I hope they celebrate, rest for the weekend, and be prepared to continue fighting on Monday.
I want to read you a pretty remarkable quote by Republican Congressman Tom Rooney of Florida. He said the following: "I've been in this job 8 years, and I'm racking my brain to think of one thing our party has done that's been something positive. That's been something other than stopping something else from happening. We need to start having victories as a party, and if we can't, then it's hard to justify why we should be back here."
Well,
Harsh?
I mean,
Fair?
I actually think it's very accurate. I mean, I'm in my 7th year, and when I first came here, Chris, you know, the model was, you know, repeal and replace, and I was waiting for a replacement for 7 years. Obviously, they couldn't get to it, but they were so obsessed with that rhetoric, and I think that they really weren't planning on governing. I think that they believed, like we all did, that we were going to be dealing with President Clinton instead of President Trump.
Right.
And so I think they were caught off guard, and they were left with, okay, now we're in charge. We have no excuse. But we're getting ready to see this again over tax reform, because if Trump thought this was difficult, wait until he comes to tax reform. And I think we need to be on our guard, because another way for them to come at health care is by cutting some of the taxes that pay for the health care coverage. So I think it was a huge victory. I'm very excited about it. On the other hand, I don't think that we can let our guard down. There's other battles ahead.
I'm having a hard time figuring out which of the two scenarios is correct. I can't tell if the Republican leadership were essentially fooling their voters all this time when they were voting time after time to repeal Obamacare 60 times,
yes,
and they can't do it once when they have control, or whether they actually fooled themselves, if they essentially believed all of their own rhetoric.
Well, but see, I do think that they used it politically, because if they believed all their own rhetoric, then please tell me why I've been here for 7 years and have never seen a replacement. You know that I voted over 65 times against the repeal. You would have thought that I would have voted 65 times for or against a replacement. When they had the opportunity to do a replacement, they couldn't get it together. So I do think it was political. I think it was political rhetoric to gin up, you know, their base. And I think it was really sad because it misled an awful lot of people. So some of the problems with Obamacare is the fact that many states have not extended Medicaid. And so we do need to come back, and maybe now they will look at making improvements, because no Democrat ever said that this was perfect, that there wasn't room to improve. Maybe they'll come back to the table. But it was fascinating to listen to Trump try to blame this on Democrats. It's like, I'm not sure if he forgot the math or he was just, you know, once again lying. They did not need one Democratic vote to pass this bill if they had gotten it together, and they didn't.
Right. 44-seat majority, largest Republican majority since 1928. Congresswoman Karen Bass,
exactly.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me on.
Still to come.